live alone. I've lived alone long enough to know the difference between a normal house sound and something that isn't. My apartment is old, but not abandoned asylum old. Just regular old. The kind where the floors creak when the temperature changes and the pipes knock in winter. I got used to that quickly. What I never got used to was 3:12 a.m. The first time it happened, I thought it was a coincidence. I woke up suddenly and checked my phone. 3:12 a.m. No reason, no noise that I could remember. Just awake. I rolled over and went back to sleep. The next night, it happened again. 3:12 a.m. This time, I heard something. A faint click, like a door latch settling into place. I live in a small one-bedroom apartment. From my bed, I can see straight down the hallway, if my door is open. That night, it was. The hallway was dark, still, empty. I stared at it for a full minute before convincing myself it was nothing. Then I heard it again, a soft shuffle. Not from the hallway, from inside my room, behind me. I didn't turn around. I don't know why, but something in my brain told me that if I turned around, I would confirm something I didn't want to confirm. So I just stayed still. Eventually, I must have fallen back asleep. When I woke up, everything looked normal. Except my bedroom door was closed. I never sleep with it closed. I live alone. There's no reason to. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe I got up half asleep and shut it. Maybe air pressure pushed it. But deep down, I knew I hadn't touched it. The third night is when it stopped feeling like coincidence. 3:12 a.m. My eyes snapped open before I even checked the time. I already knew. I slowly turned my head toward the hallway. The door was open again, but something was different. The hallway light was on. I never leave it on. The switches at the far end of the hall, nowhere near my bedroom, and standing directly beneath that light was something tall, too tall. Its head nearly brushed the ceiling. It wasn't detailed. I couldn't make out a face or clothes. It was just darker than the darkness around it, like a shadow standing upright. It wasn't moving, it wasn't swaying. It was completely still, facing my room. I couldn't breathe. My entire body felt heavy, like I was pinned to the mattress. I blinked. It was gone. The hallway light was off again. The door was closed. I didn't sleep at all after that. The next day, I checked every lock. Windows, front door, bathroom vent. Everything was secure. There was no sign anyone had been inside. That night, I decided to test something. I set up my phone to record video facing the hallway before I went to bed. At 3:12 a.m., I woke up again. But this time, I didn't look toward the hallway. I kept my eyes closed. I listened. There it was, breathing, slow, measured, from somewhere near the foot of my bed. Not rushed, not aggressive, just present. My phone screen lit up suddenly, and for a split second I saw a shadow pass across it, blocking the tiny bit of light. I stayed completely still. Eventually, the breathing stopped. When I finally worked up the courage to grab my phone and check the recording, my hands were shaking. The video showed me sleeping, the hallway door open. At exactly 3:12 a.m., the hallway light flicked on. The tall shape stepped into view. It didn't walk like a person. It sort of unfolded into the frame, like it had been crouching just outside the camera's angle. It stood there for almost a full minute. Then it turned toward the camera. There were no eyes, no mouth, just smooth darkness. And then it moved, not toward the bed, toward the phone. The screen went black at that exact moment. The recording ended. battery drained. From 64% to 0%. That's not even the worst part. When I replayed the footage again later that day, something had changed. At the very end of the clip, just before it cut out, there was audio I hadn't noticed before. A whisper, distorted, but clear enough. Stay asleep. Last night, I didn't sleep at all. I kept the lights on. I watched the clock turn from 3:11 to 3:12. Nothing happened. No light, no figure, no breathing. I almost felt relieved. Until I realized something. The reason I woke up at 3:12 every night wasn't because something arrived. It was because something left. And if I didn't wake up this time, maybe it wouldn't have to leave. I never used to be afraid of my house. It's old. Sure. The kind of old where the floors creak, even when nobody's walking on them. The kind of old where the pipes knock in the winter like they're trying to communicate. But none of that ever bothered me. What started bothering me was the knocking that answered back. It began about 2 months ago. I was sitting in the living room around 1:30 a.m. I remember the time because I couldn't sleep and had been staring at the clock every 10 minutes. The TV was on low volume, just background noise. That's when I heard it. A soft knock, not from the door, not from a window, from the wall behind the couch. I muted the TV and held my breath. Old houses make sounds. I know that. Wood shifts, pipes expand. Then it happened again. 2 knocks this time. Deliberate, evenly spaced. I stood up slowly and turned toward the wall. There was nothing there except framed photos and faded wallpaper. I told myself it was the pipes. But then I did something stupid. I knocked back, 2 quick taps with my knuckles. The house went completely silent. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then, 2 knocks from the other side. Not louder, not softer, just returned. I didn't sleep that night. The next evening, it happened again. Same time, 1:30 a.m. This time the knocking lasted longer. A pattern. 2 knocks, pause. 1 knock, longer pause. It wasn't random. It felt intentional. Over the next week, it got worse. The sound started moving. It wasn't just behind the couch anymore. Some nights it came from the kitchen wall. Other nights from the hallway near the stairs. Always inside the walls, never outside, and always after midnight. I finally convinced myself it had to be an animal. Maybe something trapped between the studs. A raccoon, a possum. So I called someone to check. The contractor cut a small square into the drywall behind the living room couch. He stuck a flashlight inside and froze. "What?" I asked. He didn't answer at first. He just kept moving the light deeper. "There's space back here," he said finally. "There's supposed to be space," I replied. "It's a wall." "No," he said quietly. "I mean a lot of space." He widened the opening. Behind that wall wasn't insulation. It wasn't wiring. It was a hollow cavity, at least several feet deep, deeper than it should have been. "Does it connect to anything?" I asked. He shook his head. "It shouldn't. According to your house plans, there's nothing here." He didn't find any animals. No nests, no droppings, no entry points. Just empty darkness stretching farther than his flashlight could reach. After he left, the knocking stopped for 2 nights. Then it came back. But this time, it was different. It wasn't coming from inside the wall. It was coming from the bedroom. I was lying in bed when I heard it. 2 knocks, directly behind my headboard. I didn't move. I couldn't. The sound wasn't muffled anymore. It was clearer, closer. Then I heard something else. a slow, dragging sound, like fingernails lightly tracing wood. I felt the vibration through the wall, faint, but there. And then, 3 knocks, right where my head had been resting seconds earlier. I slept on the couch after that. The next morning, I checked the bedroom wall. There were marks, long, shallow scratches in the paint. Thin, uneven, too high to be made by an animal from the floor. I haven't opened the wall again. I don't want to see how far that space really goes, but here's the part that keeps me awake. Last night I was in the kitchen, wide awake, not tired, not imagining things, and I heard it. 2 knocks, not from the wall, from inside one of the cabinets, the cabinet that's mounted to the same wall where the hollow space begins. I opened it slowly. There was nothing inside except plates. But as I stood there staring into the darkness behind them, I realized something. The knocking didn't stop. It just sounded farther back, like it wasn't inside the cabinet, like it was deeper, much deeper. And whatever is in there, it's not trying to get out. It's trying to see how close I'll let it get. My building has 7 floors. I know that because I counted them the day I moved in. 7 flights of stairs, 7 numbers on the elevator panel. I live on the 7th. Above me is the roof. At least, that's what I thought. It started a few weeks ago. I came home late from work, exhausted, barely thinking. I stepped into the elevator and pressed 7. The doors closed. The hum of the motor filled the silence. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It passed 7. I frowned. The panel lit up with an 8. There is no 8. The elevator stopped. The doors slid open. The hallway outside was dark, completely dark. No exit signs, no lights, just a long corridor fading into black. No one stood there. No sound came from it. After about 5 seconds, the doors shut on their own and the elevator dropped back down to 7. I told myself it was a glitch, old wiring, faulty panel. The next night, it happened again. But this time, I was paying attention. When the doors opened at 8, I leaned slightly forward. At the very end of the hallway, I could see a door, barely visible, slightly open. I was sure that door hadn't been there before. The elevator doors closed before I could react. I didn't sleep well that night. On the 3rd night, I didn't hesitate. When the elevator stopped at 8 and the doors opened, the hallway lights were on, dim, flickering. The door at the end was wide open now. I stepped out. The second my foot crossed the threshold, the elevator doors snapped shut behind me, and I heard it descend, leaving me alone. The air felt thick, like the pressure had changed. Each step I took echoed too loudly. The hallway seemed longer than it should have been. When I reached the open doorway, I stopped breathing. Inside was an unfinished apartment, bare walls, no windows, no furniture, except for a single wooden chair, placed in the exact center of the room, facing away from me, and someone was sitting in it, tall, thin, back straight, completely still. "Hello?" I said, my voice barely steady. The chair creaked. Slowly, it began to rotate toward me. I couldn't move. Halfway through the turn, the overhead light flickered. When it stabilized, the chair was empty. I stumbled back, but the hallway behind me was gone. In its place was another identical room, another chair, facing away. I turned again, and again. Every direction led to another unfinished room, another chair. All of them occupied, figures sitting perfectly still, facing away. Then at the exact same moment, every chair creaked. All of them started turning toward me. I squeezed my eyes shut. I don't remember screaming, but my throat hurt afterward. When I opened my eyes, I was back inside the elevator, descending. The panel read 7. The doors open normally. No flickering lights. No strange hallway. The next morning, I went to the landlord. I asked about the 8th floor. He stared at me like I'd said something insane. "This building has 7 floors," he said. "It always has." I checked the stairwell. 7 flights. The stairs end at my level. There's no door above it. Last night I got into the elevator again. I didn't press anything. I just stood there. The doors closed. The elevator started moving. Up 7, 8, 9. The panel kept lighting up numbers that don't exist. It finally stopped. The doors opened, and I was staring into my own apartment. Lights on, furniture exactly where it should be. Except in the middle of the living room, there was a chair facing the door, and someone sitting in it, facing away. The elevator hasn't moved. The doors are still open, and I have this horrible feeling. If I step out, I won't be the one sitting in that chair. I live on the 4th floor. No balconies, no fire escapes, no ledges wide enough to stand on. Just smooth concrete walls and a straight drop to the parking lot below. That's why I know I'm not imagining this. It started 3 weeks ago. I woke up at exactly 2:46 a.m. No nightmare, no noise, just sudden awareness. The room felt wrong. You know that feeling when you're not alone, even before you open your eyes? I looked toward the window. The curtains were slightly open, maybe an inch apart. Just enough to see the glass reflecting my dark room. At first, I thought I was just seeing my own silhouette sitting in bed. But my reflection wasn't moving the same way I was. There was something behind it, a tall shape, standing on the other side of the glass, 4 floors up. I held my breath and stared. The shape didn't sway like a shadow. It didn't flicker like light distortion. It stood still, watching. I reached for my lamp and turned it on. The room filled with warm light instantly. The window showed nothing but empty night sky. I got out of bed and walked to the glass. My hands were shaking as I pulled the curtains wide open. Nothing. I pressed my forehead to the cold window and looked down. Empty parking lot. No cars moving, no ladders, no equipment, no signs anyone had been there. I barely slept after that. The next night I closed the curtains completely. At 2:46 a.m., I woke up again. This time, I didn't look immediately. I listened, and that's when I heard it. A faint dragging sound, like skin against glass. Slow, deliberate. I forced myself to look. The curtains were slightly open again. I know I closed them. Through the narrow gap, I saw fingers. Long, too long. Pressed flat against the outside of the window. They slowly slid downward, leaving streaks that faded as they moved. My chest tightened so hard I thought I was having a heart attack. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight, aiming it directly at the window. The light hit the glass. Nothing there, no hand, no marks, just my terrified reflection. On the 3rd night, I didn't even try to sleep. I sat upright in bed, staring at the curtains, waiting. 2:45, 2:46. The dragging sound started instantly. This time, the curtains didn't move. They just slowly lifted from the bottom, as if something outside was raising them with careful fingers. And then I saw him. A face pressed against the glass. Skin pale and stretched tight, eyes wide, unblinking. His mouth slightly open, like he was breathing against the window. But there was no fog on the glass. He wasn't breathing. He wasn't alive. He just stared at me. No blinking, no expression, just studying me. Minutes passed. Neither of us moved. Then he tilted his head, slowly, like he was confused, like he was trying to understand something about me. And then there was a knock behind me from inside my apartment. 3 soft taps. I felt my stomach drop in a way I didn't think was physically possible. The thing at the window didn't react. It didn't look away. It kept staring at me. And then it smiled. Not wide, not exaggerated, just enough to show it knew. Knew what? I didn't turn around. I couldn't. Because if something knocked behind me and something was outside the window, then I was between them. Eventually, I blacked out. I don't remember lying down. I don't remember sleeping. When I woke up, it was morning. The curtains were closed. My bedroom door was open. I always lock it at night. That day, I checked the building's security cameras. No one outside. No climbers. No intruders. But the hallway camera outside my apartment recorded something at 2:46 a.m. My door slowly opening, and someone stepping out. Tall, thin, moving strangely. Its head tilted slightly to the side, like it had seen something confusing. It walked down the hallway and stopped in front of the camera. It leaned in close and smiled. It wasn't a stranger. It was me. Same clothes I was wearing that night, same face, same eyes. Except the eyes weren't blinking. The timestamp showed it leaving my apartment at 2:46. Exactly when I saw him at the window. I don't think he's trying to get in. I think he's making sure I stay inside. Because every night since then, at 2:46 a.m., the curtains move, and the hallway camera records me standing outside my own door, smiling.